Hi everyone, I'm attorney Aiden Durham with 180 Law Co. in Colorado. Welcome back to All Up in Your Business, where today we're going to talk about some tax deductions that might be available to you if you are a YouTuber or a content creator. Before we get into all that fun stuff though, please do subscribe if you haven't already. Click that little bell so you get notified anytime I post a new video, and you can check the description for links to additional information and resources. And I would just love it if you guys would all go to www.instagram.com and follow me at All Up in Your Business on Instagram. Or I guess you can pull up your app. You don't have to go to the internets, but whatever. Follow me on Instagram too. Thanks. And while I am a lawyer, I'm not your lawyer. The stuff I talk about in my videos should not be taken as a substitute for actual legal advice. If you need help with any legal situation, you should consult with a lawyer who's licensed in your state. So if you, like me, spend much of your days talking to yourself in front of a camera, you may have some unique opportunities for tax deductions that many other businesses and business owners might not have. And this doesn't just go for YouTubers. I'm talking about other kinds of content creators as well, potentially even other influencer types. Some of these deductions are going to apply to all of you too. First though, we need to make sure what you're doing is actually a business, because you can only take business deductions if what you're doing is a business. You can't take deductions for hobbies, unfortunately. This doesn't necessarily mean you have to be making money, because certainly you can be in business and not be making any money. That's not all that uncommon. But whatever you're doing, whether it's creating YouTube videos or creating other content, whatever you're doing, you should at least be doing it in the pursuit of making money. And there are a few different things that the IRS will look at to kind of determine if something is a hobby versus a business. Like if the activity is carried out in a business-like manner, and if the time and effort that you're putting into it shows that you're trying to make a profit. If you try things out and change methods in order to figure out what's going to be more profitable and what's going to work better in your pursuit of making a profit. So these could be things like maybe you've created a business plan for your YouTube channel or for your content creation business. You've researched other creators in the industry to try to figure out what works and what doesn't. Maybe you've hired a coach or taken some courses to learn how to start and grow a successful and profitable YouTube channel. Hopefully you've got a system in place to track your income and expenses, because certainly that's a big part of being a business, is keeping an eye on your income and your expenses. And maybe you have advisors like lawyers and tax professionals. These are all just examples, but these are some of the things that the IRS might look at if there's a question of if what you're doing is a hobby or a business. So let's just assuming your YouTube channel or what you're doing is a business and not just a hobby. Now let's talk about what you can deduct. Just like any other business, you can take business deductions. And the general rule from the IRS is that you can deduct any expenses that are ordinary and necessary. Ordinary means it's common and accepted in your industry, and necessary means it's helpful and appropriate in your business or in your industry or trade. So the things that I'm going to mention in this video, it's obviously not an exhaustive list of every possible business deduction, because the possibilities really are endless. As long as we can demonstrate that it's both ordinary and necessary, then it's probably going to be a deductible business expense. So let's start with some of the more obvious but maybe not so obvious potential deductions for people like me and maybe like you, YouTubers. Our camera and our filming equipment, of course, the thing that we spend all of our time talking into, screaming into the void, our camera, that's going to be deductible. It is both ordinary and necessary for a YouTuber or a video content creator to have a camera. Your other filming equipment, like your mic, maybe your lighting, if you've got one of these nice fancy ring lights or any other kind of lighting, that lighting's going to be deductible. And then all the other things that go into creating these videos. So if you're doing your own editing, then your editing software. If you use other social media platforms to cross promote your videos or your channel, channel and to bring in your audience, then maybe like your social media scheduling tools. Or maybe you don't do those things yourself. Instead, the cost of the people that you hire to do those. So if you have hired a video editor or a social media manager, those people's expenses, those costs that you pay to them are going to be deductible too. Costs associated with your website, if you have a website, or other advertising expenses are usually going to be deductible. So maybe you do some paid advertising on Facebook or Instagram or something. Those advertising expenses are deductible business expenses. And again, if you are like me and you do all of this fun stuff in your home, then you're going to most likely be able to qualify for some home office deductions as well. Maybe taking a portion of your rent or your mortgage interest, your utility costs, your insurance costs. You can't deduct all of it, but you can deduct the portion of your home that is used for your home office. So for simplicity's sake, if your home is 1,000 square feet and your home office is 100 square feet, 10% of 1,000, so you can deduct 10% of those home expenses as your home office. Some other less obvious potential deductible business expenses, these are going to really depend on the nature of your channel or the type of content that you make. Food, for example. Nope, don't go crazy. Food, as a general rule, food expenses are not deductible because we have to eat food regardless of if we are in business or not. But if your whole shtick is food, maybe you review food or you have a cooking channel, then some of those food expenses could be deductible because they are ordinary and necessary for the pursuit of your business. Same with stuff like makeup. If you're a beauty influencer and you teach people how to do makeup, or you review makeup or skincare products, then the money that you spend on those products to review or to do those tutorials could be deductible as well. Travel expenses too. Travel costs, generally speaking, are deductible if you're traveling for business. I've attended VidCon before, the big YouTuber convention. I've attended that before, and those expenses, traveling to VidCon, attending VidCon, those are deductible business expenses because I wouldn't be going to VidCon but for my YouTube business. Or if you're a travel blogger, same idea applies. But it does get potentially kind of sticky in those situations. Just because you're a travel blogger doesn't mean all of your travel expenses are going to be deductible business expenses. Ultimately, it still comes down to that ordinary and necessary thing, and you might find yourself in a situation where you have to defend those business deductions. The biggest thing, especially with respect to these expenses that are kind of on the line, may or may not be deductible, is to take and keep really good record of those expenses and why you incurred them. Keep your receipts for everything. Make notes to yourself about what was the purpose of this purchase and why you think it's a business expense. If you're a beauty influencer and you purchased a product for a particular review video, maybe write a note on that Sephora or Ulta receipt saying brand review video posted on X date. That's not necessarily going to make it 100% a deductible expense, but at least if the IRS comes around, does an audit or something and asks, hey, why did you take this as a business deduction? You can look at the receipt and say, well, because I bought this for the purpose of making this video, and you have something to back up why you made that deduction. And along, of course, with keeping those receipts, it's always a good idea to work with a CPA or a tax professional who hopefully has some experience and knowledge with content creators and maybe influencers and YouTubers, so they can help you figure out what is or is not deductible so that you can maximize your deductions to pay as little tax as you can, but also minimize the risk and chances of getting into some trouble with the IRS and the taxing gods. That's all for this episode, folks. If you've learned a thing or two, give me a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. Click that little notification bell so you get notified anytime I post a new video. Follow me on Instagram and check the description for links to additional information and resources. If you want to keep learning about business deductions, I've got another great video talking about more business deductions that might be available to you. You can check it out right here. I'll meet you over there. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Aiden Durham, and I'll see you next time.